Hey, what's up guys? Gypsy back here today, finally here with week 1 of the NPL up against Aberforth. Pretty pumped to bring you guys this game. Good to have NPL back on the channel again. And yeah, what better way to kick it off than with our semi-finals opponent Aberforth from last season. Abe's a good friend of mine and he's a very good player. You know, he's really made his mark in the draft scene over the last few seasons and in his respective side leagues. So yeah, this is definitely going to be a threatening week 1 game. Obviously we're looking to start out strong with a nice win. The streak will begin if we are able to get this, this week 1 win up against Abe. He has drafted a far better team than I've ever seen him draft in the format. He's typically known for drafting kind of like whack teams, but playing really well and building really creatively and seeing success like that. But you know, this season he has drafted very well in my opinion. He's got the fantastic Dragon Fairy, Steel Core, and Tapu Koko, and Mence, and Mega Scizor, as you guys can see to the right of my builder. You know, backed up with threats like Nidoking and Darmanitan. He's got solid pivots in the back in the form of Serena and Slowking, so he's also got some nice low tier offensive threats like Linoon and Hooper, which could really like dent teams. So yeah, you know, if they're not prepped for, that could be a huge downfall to anyone playing this team. So yeah, Aberforth has drafted a very good team, and he's proved to play creatively, you know, build creatively, play aggressively. So this team really kind of fits his style, in my opinion. So we're going to jump into the team that I have, that I've built today for this game. Team builders are compulsory this season, so I did team builders for my first few games, I think in season 5. And then I think I stopped doing them, and I don't think I did them in season 6. So they will be returning this season because it's something all coaches have to do. So fair enough. You will be seeing my team builders, which is I know some people are pretty excited to be seeing that. So hope you guys do enjoy this part. But yeah, we're gonna kick it off. We have Landorus. So Landorus is here. My rocker for this week. Rocks are really solid versus this team. Hazards in general, he doesn't really appreciate. I could have brought Hazard Stack, although I do feel like Mega Scizor will be coming with the Defog. Serena will likely be coming with Rapid Spin, but barring a certain set, Serena can't actually spin versus my Decidueye, which is a pretty solid spin blocker in this matchup. Although Decidueye is very weak to stuff like Mence, Scizor, Sneasel, Darmanitan, Hooper. It's not the best bring in this matchup, but you know, if he is really expecting me to Hazard Stack, he could well bring Defog on Scizor, you know, potentially Serena too, but I feel like Defog on Scizor is definitely coming in this matchup. So I've opted not to run Hazard Stack this week, but rocks are important. Getting those Stealth Rocks up is going to be clutch in chipping down the Koko, chipping down the Mence. Pretty solid for the Darmanitan as well if he does bring it, like a Scarf variant. It's going to have to be taking that 25 chip. You know, each time he comes in, classic Stealth Rocks, just really solid to have in every matchup. I am Z-Fly on this spread. That allows me to blow back Serena, obviously. It allows me to blow back Mence if it's like if it wants to Dragon down top of my face thinking I can't hit it, but you know, obviously people know what Z-Lando does. It's just a no drawback stab to have in this matchup. The kind of bulk investment I have in this Lando is to ensure that I'm not OHKO'd by modest E-Belts HP Ice, as well as 2 Dazzling Gleams. I do die to modest Life Orb HP Ice, so that's something to keep in mind from Koko, that is. But I am not killed by like a modest E-Belt HP Ice, nor am I too killed by a Dazzling Gleam from modest Koko. The reason I say this is because he's allowed to run modest Koko versus my team, basically. Like, I don't have anything fast enough to pressure him to run Timid, so you know, while that's kind of bad, I'm totally fine with that because it does allow me to more accurately predict what he'll bring. So yeah, this Landorus is pretty nice. I do have U-turn here just in case I need to get momentum versus something like an incoming Mence on like a predicted EQ once I've used up my Z move. It's just nice to have that momentum here. No other move was really necessary. I kind of considered a few other moves in this slot, but U-turn is just the most solid. Also allows me to pivot on a incoming Serena that wants to spin on my Landorus, although you know, Z-Fly is definitely a threat. And the speed on Lando is basically just to outspeed a max speed Timid Nidoking because that thing is a threat, and the more responses to that I have, the better. So jumping into the next one, we have A mixed defensive Celesteela, really solid mon in this matchup. Obviously it's threatened out by Coco, but it is a really nice response to stuff like Salamence, Mega Scizor. I do have the Flamethrower on deck for that. Leech Seed Protect in conjunction with potential Stealth Rocks, having Stealth Rocks up is really nice versus this team. The chip is appreciated by the later mons on my team this week. It gives me a form of pseudo recovery for stuff like my Landorus and my remaining team members. And Heavy Slam is just a really solid option for whittling down stuff like Coco, Mence, Nidoking, or none of those mons appreciate taking a Heavy Slam. It even does a decent chunk to Domanitan, which could well switch in versus a defensive Celesteela. So ensuring I have my Leech Seed up versus a Domanitan is also really nice. Like if he switches in his Dom on a Leech Seed, I can then switch out to one of my checks and buffer Dom's hits that much better. So not too much to say about the Celesteela. A pretty standard set, but a very nice set. Allows me to check stuff like Hooper and Linoon very nicely. Sneasel can't do too much to this Celesteela either. It just takes it on for days. So that is very nice. Serena is also basically walled by this set. Even if he has like Fighting Stab, it's not going to do much to the Celesteela. So jumping into the next one on the team, we have Hariyama debuting in week 1. This thing is sure to put in the work. With this Assault Vest variant of Hariyama and my EV spread, I am basically a really solid check to stuff like special attacking Nidoking, even Life Orb variants, unable to 2KO me with anything. Modest Life Orb like just bounces off Hariyama's thick body. So that is definitely nice. Definitely nice to have a way of checking a Shadow Ball spamming Hooper, which could be potentially a big threat versus my team. I do have stuff on my team like Hydreigon, which can also check Hooper, but if he's like Scarf Focus Blast, it's always good to have a way of threatening that. You see I've got Fake Out on this set. Fake Out is really solid to just scout his lead. If he wants to lead with something like Coco, I can scout with Fake Out, scout his damage, scout his spread, determine if he's offensive or defensive. I feel as though he will potentially lead with Nidoking to get Rocks up turn 1 or get T-Spikes up if he does opt to bring those. So getting Fake Out damage off into Earthquake, guaranteed kills a non-Shuka Berry variant of Nidoking, which is really nice. It also is really solid versus the Domanitan. I am thick fat, so I do live a Flare Blitz fairly easily. Can allow me to have another backup check to Dom in the back. I obviously take on Sneasel. I wall Sneasel with thick fat. Serena can't do too much to my set. I can fire off a Fire Punch and dent it pretty heavily. Fire Punch also hits the Mega Scizor, which is really nice. If he's a defensive, really bulky Roost Mega Scizor, he may feel as though he can set up versus my Hariyama or just safely Roost up, knowing he can chew a close combat. CC still does a decent chunk to Scizor, but Fire Punch does a lot more. I can Fake Out the Salamence. You see I don't have too much to hit the Salamence like super effectively or anything like that, but that's covered by my other mons. I do have Lando, Celesteela, and I've got a few other checks that on my team. Fake Out is just really solid versus offense, and I feel like offense is the way he's going to go this game. So yeah, Hariyama hopefully will be able to put in the work. Such a cool mon. I do like this thing already. The fourth mon we have on the squad is my Suicune. A nice response to his Salamence, his Domanitan, even his Nidoking really, because Suicune is just that naturally fat. Just a nice dual attacking Protect Toxic set. Toxic is for potential Carmine Slowking, which could be a bit of a threat. I can also Toxic stuff like the Serena if he's some annoying like Synthesis variant. Yeah, having Toxic is a pretty nice deck in this game. But basically, Suicune is just going to be revenging or taking on stuff like Salamence. Going to be taking hits from the Sneasel and the Domanitan. Protect is basically here to scout. Choice Lock Domanitan, it's here to scout. Potential Z move from Salamence, I can make him, pop his Z move. Like if he's like Z Fly, for example, and he's a +2, I can just Protect, dodge the Z move, and then be able to take the next hit and kill him with Ice Beam. Also really nice for a Choice Lock Coco, because if he is a Choice variant of Coco and he brings it in on my Suicune, I can just Protect. If he wants to click U-turn on my likely ground switch in, then he's going to be punished for that. So yeah, no real reason not to bring Tech. It also does give me sort of more passive recovery with lefties, which is nice. Also wears down his mons who are potentially toxic. So yeah, Protect is pretty solid in this matchup. And then for the 5th member, we have Pillar Swine, my boy Pillar Swine coming here this week. Very bulky set. Just with the Violite, it just boosts this thing's defense through the roof. And with this, I am quite offensive, as you guys can tell by my spread. This does allow me to Oko stuff like Tapu Koko, Nidoking. Sneasel gets Oko, Domanitan obviously gets Oko. Ice Shard is clutch in this matchup for stuff like Weakened Koko, for a Salamence that's, is it +1 or something like that. Yachi Berry variant will drop to Icicle Spear because it does pop Yachis. Having a powerful EQ to fire off versus Slowking is really nice too. I do outspeed Slowking, so if he's weakened, I can 2k him on the switch with EQ, provided I have got some chip, maybe a Toxic off. That could be pretty nice. I have another rocker here, so I do have dual rocks because I do expect him to pack, like I mentioned, Defog on Mence. And being able to pressure his team with rocks if my Landorus goes down and he does get a defog off is pretty nice. I also didn't need another move on this Pillar Swine, really. Like, Earthquake, Ice Shard basically deals with his whole team, so that was pretty nice to be able to bring in this matchup. This EV spread is basically so I can survive a Supersonic Sky Striker +1 after rocks. I believe that is the calc. He could well bring like Z Aqua Tail, which is definitely a possibility. On his Mence is a Zmon, as you guys can see from his team list, but I feel as though he's sort of forced to either bring Z Aqua Tail to dent my Pillar Swine and potential defensive Landorus, or he's going to want to bring Z Thunderfang to take on Celesteela and my Suicune. So it's going to be one or the other. That's the kind of thing about Z moves, you don't know until you're in the game, but we are covered in that regard by having Ice Shot in the back. And to finish off the team, we do have Scarfed Hydreigon. Scarfed Hydreigon basically here to revenge a lot of the mons on his team. It is a nice check to Scarf Domanitan because I do outspeed that thing with my given spread and its Timid nature. This is pretty nice to clean late game. Once his Coco's down, I can spam Dark Pulse versus his team pretty freely. As you guys can see, Dark Pulse just goes in versus his team once the Sneasel's out of the way and the Tapu Koko's down. Flamethrower blows back Scizor, Earth Power obviously just there for the Koko mainly, and Draco Meteor, probably not going to be clicking that unless I really need to take out Nidoking or Salamence. Dark Pulse is probably the move I'm going to be clicking in this matchup. So that is the team for week 1, a kind of balanced team, nothing too crazy, but definitely going to be fun to use stuff like Hariyama and Pillar Swine. I'm going to pause it here and we'll jump up to the match and see how this team went. Alright guys, so we're here with a matchup against Abe. Funnily enough, he chose to bring the exact 6 that I expected him to bring when I initially started building for this match. So that's both good and bad. Good in the sense that I'm definitely prepped for it, but bad in the sense that this is the best 6 in my opinion that he could have brought versus me. So just having a quick look over his team, I do expect Nidoking to be his rocker. Obviously, that's his only rocker that he's brought. And I feel as though rocks are going to be essential. I don't think he's going to hazard stack because I feel as though he's definitely got defog Scizor, or alternatively he may opt to run T-Spikes plus rocks and no defog on Scizor. So, but the fact that I've got Coolfish on my squad kind of makes me think that he's going to, move away from T-Spikes in this particular matchup. But I'm feeling like he's going to have that fat Slowking as a pivot in the back. Possibly defensive to take hits from my Hariyama, maybe to chew hits from my Pillar Swine, potentially Carmine. He's more than likely Fizz Def purely because I have the anti on my squad, which destroys his team if he's not Fizz Def Slowking. Obviously Scizor can revenge it, but nothing else like switching in on Moonblasts and Power Gems and Diamond Storms, unless Nidoking's like a really bulky variant, but then I could always pack Psychic. So yeah, I feel as though it's going to be Fizz Def, bulky pivot, Slowking in the back, potentially Mixed Def, Scizor right there, or maybe offensive, but I think offensive is kind of bad versus me. I got Coolfish, Suicune, and Celesteela, so that kind of stops that in its tracks. More than likely, as I mentioned, lead Nidoking. He's probably going to have Life Orb or some sort of Eviolite variant, maybe of Sneasel. I know he's run Eviolite in the past. I don't think it's the best set, but he may have brought it, or he could just bring some sort of Life Orb variant or E-Belt. Then he has his Mence, which is probably Z-Fly or something of that nature. And then Koko could be a number of things. I definitely think it's going to be modest. Potentially a Shuka Berry to help him check, a Scarfed Hydreigon, as well as my Landorus. Maybe take hits from Pillar Swine a bit better, but yeah, you can't really do too much back to Pillar Swine, so I'm not too sure about the the item on the Coco at matchup, but Shooker is definitely something I'm going to have to scout for. So like I mentioned in my builder, Hariyama is my lead of choice, just being able to check his anti, just to be able to act as a sort of anti-lead versus his Nidoking. It will allow rocks, but it will also allow me to take him out. And Nidoking is a big threat to my team, so he does actually lead off with King, as I'm just going to go for Fake Out this turn, gauging damage. So he's definitely offensive. He's not that invested in bulk from the damage that Fake Out did. That was pretty standard for an offensive King, so I'm going to be able to go for Earthquake here and potentially take him out. As he does set up the rocks, he's going to reveal to be Shukaberry on this Nidoking, so nice way of chewing a hit from a potential Landorus. But I do think he is Focus Sash as... no, he's Shukaberry, so yeah, he's not Focus Sash, but that allows him to have a pseudo Focus Sash versus a potential lead Landorus, which is pretty nice for him. So yeah, I can definitely understand the Shukabring. We brought that a few times in Season 5, so yeah, Nidoking's a pretty solid lead versus me, as his Earth Power is going to bounce off Hariyama's body. It does almost 27%. That's a sheer force Nidoking's Earth Power, so yeah, this Hariyama's chewing. I'm going to go for Knock Off this turn. I go for Knock in case he wanted to switch out into his Slowking or his Ments there to guarantee chip damage on either of those. Potentially knock off lefties on Slowking, which could be really nice if it's a Carmine variant for later in the game. And if he did stay in and hit me with an Earth Power, Hariyama would be left at a range of health where I can still check the Coco, as you guys are going to see later on. So he's going to go for Earth Power here. Unfortunately, because I am going to have to take a couple more Earth Powers than I would have needed to if I had just clicked Earth Power there. I had to take one more Earthquake on that turn instead of Knockoff, but that's all good. I'm going to go out into my Celesteela here as he brings in his Scizor, so he's going to make the obvious U-turn play, which is completely fair enough. I don't really have much business staying in there. If I have Fire Punch, I'm going to click it there versus the Scizor, unless I predict him to switch out. But if he was probably going to go to Slowking there if I had stayed in with Hariyama on the Scizor, so I wouldn't have achieved much by staying in there. He's going to go into his Coco there on my Celesteela, as I can just switch out this turn, go into my Piloswine. I don't want to mess around with him being potentially a calm mindset, so I'm just going to go hard out into my Piloswine, as he's going to go for the U-turn out into his Sneasel. So that damage revealed that he was definitely not attack invested, so that's good to know. He's more than likely special attacking, which makes sense versus my team. He's going to go into his Sneasel here. I'm going to take this opportunity to set up my rocks, because I did not die to Knockoff plus Icicle Crash. He could pack the low kick, but I doubt it. Just versus my team, I don't think he's going to have... I thought he may potentially have Taunt on this set to help him check my fat, like Suicune, potentially Quillfish. So this turn he's actually going to SD up on my Stealth Rocks, which is kind of threatening if Piloswine wasn't a beast, as we chew that knockoff and we Oko this Sneasel with Earthquake. So that attack investment coming in clutch there, as a fully defensive Piloswine I don't think would have taken out Sizzle from full, so that was a nice surprise kill. I don't think Abe expected my Piloswine to be so offensive there. So Sizzle's going to come in here. I've got no reason to stack off Piloswine at this point in the match. You can still potentially check Ments late game with Ice Shard, as well as checking Coco. Or if he is a Choice Lock variant, having my grounds around is important. So I'm going to go right out here into my Celesteela, as he actually chooses to defog here, which is really nice for me, because now I don't have to worry about taking chip damage. Both my rockers are still alive, whilst his rocker is dead, so I'm very happy with this exchange. I get some nice lefties off of my Celesteela, and this turn I can just go for a Leech Seed, as I know he's going to switch out. He can't risk me being a fast Celesteela there, so he is going to switch hard out into his Slowking. As this turn I'm going to make the double Leech play, as I know he's going to switch out. I catch his Scizor here, and now this turn I know he's going to switch out again. He goes for U-turn, so if I was a fast Celesteela there, that could have been dangerous for him, but he may have been creeping like max speed Celesteela with his Scizor, although I think it was a defensive spread, so I'm not too sure. I'll have to watch his video on that, but I'm going to make the triple Leech Seed play as we do get his Slowking in here. So nice chip. Obviously Slowking has Regenerator, but chipping down the Scizor is really solid for me. I'm going to make the switch out to my Suicune here, in case he did want to go for a Scald that turn, or potentially a Calm Mind, expecting me to Leech Seed again, predicting his Scizor. But he makes another switch yet again out into his Scizor, and I'm fine with this exchange, because now Suicune is in versus this Scizor. I can potentially fish for a Scald Burn here. I have no reason not to click Scald here. If he goes hard out into Slowking this turn, I can fire for Toxic. If he U-turns out, if he outspeeds my Coon and wants to go out into Tapu Koko, then I get nice Scald damage off, which will tell me some more information about his Coco spread, which will definitely be handy. But I'm going to outspeed and get the Scald off, so he risks the potential burn here as he does get momentum out into his Tapu Koko. But this is fine. I can just click Protect here, and the fact that he has U-turn kind of tipped me off earlier in the match that he likely wasn't a Carmine set. Carmine Roost, U-turn, and then he'd have something like T-Bolt. I don't think he'd run that set because then he's walled by my grounds. He's more than likely U-turn, potentially Roost, Dazzling Gleam, and T-Bolt. He may have HP Ice my Landorus, but I doubt it. The fact that he's U-turn could also signal to me that he's potentially a Scarfed variant, or even Specs. So that was really nice. I can go for Protect here, not fearing him to be a setup variant. If he is set up with U-turn, well then what can you do? But I highly doubt that is a set that Abe would run. As I am going to go for Protect here, he's going to go for a T-Bolt. That's fine here. I can just switch hard out into my Landorus, as I know my Landorus can live 2 Dazzling Gleams from a Modest Coco, as he does fire off the Gleam. That does 47%. So we chew that up, and this turn I can go for Rocks. Rocks was the play here in case he decided to go out into Slowking or Scizor here. He is going to reveal later on to be Shukaberry, so he didn't fear dying here to a Landorus' Earthquake. But I am really happy with trading my Landorus for Rocks here, as it does put Scizor in range of a few things on my team. It puts his Mence in range of guaranteed in range of Ice Shard, and it chips down the Slowking. Slowking is going to be pretty easy to take on with the rest of my team, but it will also put Coco in a range. When it comes back in later on Rocks, it's going to put it in guaranteed range of Earth Power from a Hydreigon, which is pretty nice. So I'm going to go for Rocks here, as the next turn he is going to take me out with Dazzling Gleam. I had no reason to preserve Lando at that point, apart from Intimidate. Intimidate versus the Mence, and obviously my Z Fly, but I'm pretty confident the rest of my team can take on his. No problem, so we're going to go into Hariyama here. Now, the fact that I'd shown Fake Out, this was an interesting point in the match, the fact that I'd shown Fake Out turn 1, it kind of screamed that I'm going to click Fake Out here because I want damage off on this Coco. Either that or I'm going to go hard for the EQ. I bring it in confidently versus a Tapu Koko who's just killed my Landorus with Dazzling Gleam, so obviously I'm confident that I can chew this hit. Because, I wouldn't throw in a Mon who's just going to die to Tapu Koko, so I know this turn he's more than likely going to go into a Scizor to defog, capitalizing on the potential Fake Out. And Fake Out was really likely here because if he is Shukaberry, and that is definitely something that he could be, the fact that he stayed in on Lando, Abe's a smart guy, he probably knows that I know that he's Shuka, so me going for Fake Out here guarantees his Coco's going to be lower by the end of the exchange, even if he doesn't die to the Earthquake afterwards, which he won't if he's Shuka. So this turn I am going to fire off. I'm going to make the play of clicking Fire Punch here as he does go into his Scizor, which is just going to drop to the Fire Punch. So Rocks are here to stay. He's going to be forced out into his Coco this turn, as I can just click Earthquake, popping his Shukaberry. His Dazzling Gleam is not going to take me out, so Hariyama is, he's chewing hits all day. And now Tapu Koko's Shukaberry is popped, which means Hydreigon will be able to guaranteed revenge him at this range of health. And this is looking pretty good for Hydreigon here. Once I get rid of the Coco, I can just click Dark Pulse versus his team. I can also click Draco Meteor, but obviously Dark Pulse is just more solid in this. As if he does want to switch out here into Mence, predicting my Earth Power, which makes a lot of sense, I can just go out into my Celesteela or my Suicune and wall that. I always have Scarfed Hydreigon in the back to revenge this Tapu Koko, so I'm not too worried about that. And the more rock switch-ins he takes, the closer he gets to dying to Ice Shard from my Piloswine. So I'm just going to click Earth Power here. He didn't really lose too much by staying in there, because if I wasn't Scarfed Hydreigon, if I was just bluffing or trying to stall out the electric terrain in order for my Celesteela or my Suicune to survive, he could have gained a lot by clicking Dazzling Gleam there, calling my bluff. So I can definitely respect him staying in there. As Mence is going to come out now, I am going to go hard out into my Celesteela, as he is going to DD up, and I could have protected here to scout what he had to hit my Celesteela with, but I'm just going to go for the Heavy Slam. Z Thunderfang does not kill me from full. From +1, I'm EV to live that, as his Fire Blast is not going to 2-echo me, whilst we're going to 2-echo back with the Heavy Slam. So yeah, Mixed Def Selly putting in the work. Slowking's going to come in here. I'm going to go for Leech, because Leech guarantees, even if this is a Carmine variant, my Suicune can beat it, because with Leech, Seed, Toxic, it's just gonna wear itself down, and also my Dark Pulse from my Hydreigon is gonna be really nice. If this is like a rest variant of Slowking, getting the Leech Seed off is gonna aid my Hydreigon in the long run in terms of wearing him down with Dark Pulse plus Leech Seed. So and obviously he's gonna have to have dual stab, otherwise he can't hit my Hydreigon. So he'll be like Calm Mind, Rest, 2 attacks in that instance. But I don't think he's gonna be that at all. I think he's gonna be Slack Off, because that's just more reliable versus Diancie, which is probably one of the big roles this Slowking has on Abe's team. So I'm going to go hard out into my Suicune here just to get off the Toxic, putting the final nail in the coffin of this Slowking, ensuring he can't get it to any funny business late game. Obviously I want this to end as soon as possible, as Slowking is going to get Toxic here. He's going to go for Psyshock, so he's Psych Up, which is pretty interesting. I think this set is here to capitalize on a potential Crocoon, but definitely wasn't going to bring that this game. But it's definitely a cool tech. You don't really see Psych Up used much on Slowking, so that's pretty nice. But Hydreigon's going to come in here. He's going to click Dark Pulse. We get burnt by the Scald, but that's irrelevant. We're going to get the Leech back, which is going to heal us up. And Slowking is now in range where it's going to go down to a couple of Dark Pulses. But it's going to actually die to the Toxic damage this turn, so I believe Suicune will get the kill for that. So yeah, that was a great game versus Abe. Definitely a fun one. I felt as though the team performed as it was designed, so that was definitely fun to see. Yeah, make sure to go and check out Abe's side of the match. I'll leave a link to his channel in the description if you guys aren't already subbed to him. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed, drop a like. Let me know what you guys thought of the week 1 match in the comments, and I'll catch you guys next time.